Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up with you.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
Yo, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How in the world are you? This is your boy Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation, and we're back at it again, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I am creating more content and doing it up here for you, live in Technicolor, or lack thereof, here on the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, coming at you live in a private, undisclosed location. It is within the Washington DC Metropolitan Area, so I will give you that. What I do like about this setting and the way that, this whole room is formatted and everything is that it's small, and basically it's nice, there's no background noise or anything like that to kind of disturb the quality of work that we're trying to do. I know that sometimes when I do episodes here and I do episodes there, it can get ugly, with the background noise and so forth, but I can assure you that everything here is pretty solid. It's really nice and I love it and it's great. And the fact that I'm here in a little room that I'm just going to call the booth, a makeshift studio, and just something here that it's nice, when you have a small room, then sound travels a little bit better. It's all within the physics. I mean, yeah, you can say, well, you're near a microphone and you're doing your thing, but being in a small room, just to record stuff, it does matter. Sound does travel a lot all over the place. That's all in the form of physics. So, it is what it is. Pretty excited to actually be doing this. Lots to talk about. Probably not a lot of time to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and just jump right into it because this is how, excited I am. This is how, serious I am too. When I'm going to record stuff like this. Now, mind you, obviously I don't talk about religion and our politics, so, we're good. And if anybody's looking for that type of, situation, this isn't it. This is not it. So, if you want to look for religion and or politics, you might want to go to another podcast, which is fine. A lot of people may have a lot of high interest in it and so forth, but that's not what we do here. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. And I really want to get into, I guess you can say, was the talk of the town. A lot of people were talking about it. We're still talking about it even now since it's already happened. But hey, it's still a hot conversation piece. So hot that a lot of people from the entertainment industry, when it comes to TV shows, news shows, talk shows, and sports analysts, they are still talking about it. And even people in the podcasting world, and three sheets to the wind. But unless you've been living under a rock, you already know what happened. And if you didn't know, well, I'm here to tell you. A few days ago, John Cena, who basically is a pro wrestler for the WWE and now a Hollywood actor, wrestled his last match a few days ago on Saturday for a TV series of WWE shows called WWE Saturday Night Main Event, which was actually over in Washington, DC, over the Capital One Arena, which grossed out a lot of money. There was 19,000 people sold out, and for a wrestling event, grossed out the most amount of money that any wrestling event has ever done. Maybe like it's probably like the fourth highest grossing event ever, as an event in, Capital One Arena's history. We knew it was going to happen. We knew that John Cena was going to be wrestling his last match because he called it out last year, and he said that, he's going to keep wrestling until, 2025. And once, everything is done in 2025, he's going to be retired in the wrestling world in terms of like he will never wrestle again. Now, the talk of the town is that he will still be working with the WWE in a kind of like an ambassador kind of role, but he's not going to be wrestling anymore. I mean, let's take a look at some quick facts here. John Cena has been wrestling on the main card of the WWE. He's been on the main roster since 2002, I believe. 2002, okay? It is now 2025. So by basic math, he's been wrestling for the WWE for 23 years. He has done everything that, every professional wrestler in the WWE would want to do and accomplish. I mean, this guy literally is a Grand Slam champion. By that, let's just put it in perspective. A 17-time World Heavyweight Champion. He has won also the Intercontinental Championship recently. So that was his first run ever. Couple times U.S. champion, couple times tag team champion. He has won the Royal Rumble twice. He has won Money in the Bank one time. This man has had a decorated career. He went from literally ruthless aggression John Cena when he first came out, wrestled Kurt Angle. Then he actually changed his gimmick a little bit, and he became this rapper that, his moniker was the Doctor of Thugonomics. And then he became the guy that was like the all-American hero kind of guy, similar to Hulk Hogan, the never give up John Cena. And it was pretty wild. This man has done so much in the ring, has faced everybody that you could possibly think of, defended his title a lot. And outside of the wrestling world, not only being an actor, but a humanitarian, granting the most Make-A-Wish, wishes for kids in that organization's history. It's pretty wild. But to focus back on the retirement match and him retiring, that happened on Saturday night's main event when he went up against former champion Gunther, who was formerly known as Walter in his earlier days at WWE NXT. It was said and predetermined that John Cena was going to lose, and we all knew that, because the tradition is that if you have been a wrestler for so long and you're going to be retiring and having your retirement match, the tradition is that you're going to lose because you're trying to put the person over, that's actually kind of like now the new captain of the ship, so to speak. So because John Cena was going to retire, he wanted to lose on purpose as a way of saying, like, you know what? The company's in good hands now with wrestlers like Gunther. You know what I mean? And it's going to be good. Now, I've watched that match plenty of times. And for those that actually have Peacock TV, you can have access to it and watch it again. But here's the thing. The match was going so good, right? But we know for a fact that, when it comes to, John Cena, there's only two ways that you're going to win. You're either going to go ahead and pin him, or you're going to submit him. Now, pinning him would have been most likely. That probably would have been the case. Also, I would think that, well, unless you want to count the count out thing, but I don't think having a count out win is kind of like that's kind of very cheap for a lot of people. Nobody really likes that. They don't agree with that. It was a great match. It went back and forth, John Cena being John Cena, and then Gunther doing his thing. John Cena doing a lot of his finishers of like the FU, well, formerly known as the FU, but yeah, he kept on doing his finishers, and especially the STF, he did that. Gunther doing a lot of power bombs and so forth. But what really soured it was the finisher, where Gunther actually had John Cena in a rear naked choke to what would be like almost like a sleeper hold, but it was more like a rear naked choke in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is one of his signature moves. And the fact that, after all the attitude adjustment drops that he had, Gunther got, and the STF and all the beatings and so forth, he finally cracked the code of, doing a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu rear naked choke. Now, here's the thing. In my opinion, if John Cena was in the rear naked choke, but didn't give up, but somehow was like choked unconsciously, I think we would have been okay with that. What was the result was, you see John Cena in the rear naked choke, right? And he is looking around and so forth. Then you see him smile ever so nonchalantly and casually tapping out. Tap, tap, tap. The match was done. Needless to say, the fans in Washington, D.C. was, to say that they were upset is a little bit of an understatement. And I think, honestly, a lot of people gave the WWE a lot of grief for allowing a finish like that to ever happen. Because, again, one of John Cena's monikers is that, never give up. And when he smiles on the, towards the camera and casually taps out like it's nothing, it doesn't really sit well. Not with the fans, not with sports fanatics, not with people like who talk in sports talk shows and sports personalities and everything like that. It was just like, what in the blue hell just happened? Now again, I'm going to say it, like if he was caught in a rear naked choke and he was choked out, I think we would be okay with that, because the symbolism behind that was he didn't give up. He was just choked out. And it's crazy. It's really crazy. I've never seen anything like this happen for a person. And, it's just kind of nuts the way that it ended. However, afterwards, a lot of people in the locker room jumped out to still show love and support for John Cena for, what he's done for the past 23 years in the WWE. And the fact that, he was a true leader in the locker room, paving the way. Being a very nice person, and not really being a person that was in the limelight in a negative way, he got into a car accident, or he did drugs, or, abused alcohol. And John wasn't like that, because he took that very seriously. He understood that, when you have bad press and a bad reputation in that sense, it's going to haunt you. But sure enough, he went out. A lot of people were cheering for him, and it's amazing and incredible. And what happens at this point, I really don't know. I can only assume a couple of things. Obviously, because he's a Hollywood film actor, he is going to keep doing that and pursuing that art. He's still going to show a lot of love for the WWE and support it. It's just the fact that he is not going to physically wrestle anymore. He might do some charity work. He might be an ambassador at a couple of live events and so forth. But, he has literally wrestled his last match. And I think as fans, we need to kind of respect that. We have to give him his props and his flowers. For 23 years, dude, you were definitely doing it. You definitely were the embodiment of what you believed in, which is hustle, loyalty, and respect. You were the embodiment of never giving up. You were the embodiment of what hard work, what it is, what it can do, what it's all about. Because when you put in that hard work, you build your success, and it breeds success. And I think that's what made John Cena the most successful pro wrestler to ever do it. And to break the previous record of the most championships ever held, in terms of a world championship that was recently held by the Nature Boy Ric Flair, being the 16-time champion. Now you have a 17-time champion in John Cena. I don't know what more I can really say other than the fact that I will miss John for sure. And what he's done for the WWE and in pro wrestling, and I will miss seeing him in matches, because to me, I felt like even though he got a lot of criticism saying that he can't wrestle, he did it for 23 years. He did something, ladies and gentlemen, and I gotta tip my hat off to him, because he was the one that was in the ring, and he did it. We didn't do anything. We're just people outside, watching him from the outside looking in, seeing him do what he does best, being at work and entertaining us, the fans. For 23 years, he's done it. And now it's time for him to step out into the limelight and enjoy life, continue his acting career, and to not have his body go through so much anymore. Because as being a professional wrestler, taking all that punishment and abuse in the ring, your body pays a heavy toll. And once you pay that heavy toll, you're going to remember all that stuff that your body went through. It's it's the pain is real. The stuff they do in the ring is real. It's just that, stuff is predetermined, and we all know that. But again, for 23 years, John, you've really done your thing, man. And you lived the dream. You achieved so much. And, I'm just glad that you were able to, walk out of the ring on your own 2 feet and just enjoy the sunset, and just enjoying the fact that, you wrestled that last one. I don't think you really need to do any more, to be honest with you. You pretty much proved yourself. And I think that you're definitely going to be a future Hall of Famer for sure. But we shall see. We shall see. We're going to take a little bit of a break. When we come back, we'll get into the second segment, and then the Q&A forum. So you know what time it is.
I want to tell you about an amazing store that's really good for all musicians, music enthusiasts, and a whole lot more, which is Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center in Wheaton, Maryland. That's right, you heard it correctly. Since 1958, Chuck Levins has been actually tearing up the game when it comes to the music scene. And guess what? Since 1958, they have been the store to go to and a must-visit destination for any serious musician passing through our nation's capital. So, if you're actually a person that's in a band looking for a new instrument, such as an electric guitar, an acoustic guitar, a bass guitar, or maybe some drums, if you're a DJ looking for like the greatest DJ equipment, such as turntables and so forth, they got you. Hey, are you actually in an orchestra playing a woodwind instrument, brass instrument, or strings? They got you. They got all the classical instruments that you need. And let's not forget, for all my fellow podcasters, need a microphone? They got you. Need a podcasting vocal track recorder? They got you. They got everything, man. And I'm telling you, it's the best place to go. So if you want to check them out, go ahead and do so, because right here at Chuck Levins, they're the best. Forget the rest. Mess with the best. Located over at 11151 Veers Mill Road in Wheaton, Maryland. They're open Monday through Saturdays, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. If you want to know more about what they have to offer, you can go over to chucklevins.com online or give them a buzz at area code 301-946-8808. Chuck Levins Washington Music Center. Like I said before, don't worry about the rest. Mess with the best.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
You know, recently I had an opportunity to attend an event where there was a lot of movies being premiered. By that, I mean like short films. Short films basically being a film that is usually up to about 15 minutes. And there were 16 of those films. One of them was actually a movie that I was in called Fatal Fury, a fan film. Now, let me give you a little bit of a history about this movie before we go any further. It is a project that was produced by Charm City Flimmakers, who were also the same company that threw the premiere event. The director of the film, Adam Vaughn, who I know through a movie that we did together called Miscalculated, he actually contacted me and he said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this fan film based out of Fatal Fury, the video game. And I think that you would actually be pretty cool because from what I see and what I know of you, that fight, choreography, martial arts, you know how to do some stunts. I think you would be a really good addition to the team." And I thought, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm definitely on board, because any opportunity that I can, when I can get an opportunity of acting, and especially if I can utilize my gifts of martial arts and fights, sequences and so forth, I'm always down for it. I'm always down 100%. Initially, when he got me in, he wanted me to play one of the villains in that particular movie project. The character from Fatal Fury, his name is Raiden, which he was like a professional wrestler. And I thought about it, and I just thought that's kind of cool because I'm very familiar with what he does. And then later on, I got to meet the rest of the, cast and the crew that were going to be involved in it. So, 2024, once again, we're all called up, we're all assembled, and we're ready to go. Certain people that I knew from the acting industry and just people that I know were involved. Cameron Whittington, Zach Knox, Zach Malikoff, Trey and Shanita Parker, also Jimmy DiNolti, I know that he was in it. Tom Chrysosimo. A lot of names involved in it. The only person, let me see, hold the phone. There was a few other more people that I know that was involved with it. There was a young lady by the name of Becky. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I'm not going to even try, but she is an actress out of the Northern Virginia area by the ways of Peru, and she was involved. The only people I didn't know was John Lutz, who I knew of him, but I never met him, and this one person, Emma Ryan, who basically, to me, when I met her, was like really starting to get her teeth, cut into the acting world in terms of film. So she was really green, you know what I mean? I think it was like her first time doing, acting in a film setting, and also at the same time, doing something that also had martial arts and fight choreography and sequences involved in it. Throughout that time, we definitely had a blast because we sacrificed a lot of our time to go ahead and prepare for our roles and for this movie by, practicing on weekends and so forth, mainly on Sundays. And it was good. But it came with a lot of challenges, because there were some actors that, couldn't make it. So it really put a little bit of a damper on a few things because, number one, you always want to see your fellow castmates. And number two, it's like, if we all don't get our stuff together, then I feel like the quality of work that we put in may suffer. And it was really cool to be a part of that process. But, there was a lot of challenges, and a couple of rewrites and, recasting and rebranding and so forth. And specifically speaking, I went from playing the role of Raiden to somebody that made more sense in Cheng Sinzan, which I felt like that was actually a pretty, that was a better move in the grand scheme of things, because I just don't know how or why I would have played the role of, Raiden, you know what I mean? But it worked out. It definitely worked out. It definitely was a cool situation. I really liked it. And, fast forward to, 2025 of this year, in the beginning, we had to go ahead and record and film for 2 days, on a Saturday and on a Sunday. And we were on a mission because all the days prior leading up to that moment, it was like very challenging. We really wanted to make sure that we did everything right. We wanted to make sure that, all of our time and sacrifice that, we gave up as actors was going to hit the pay dirt, and it was going to lead into something really awesome, and we would see a really good presentation. We filmed for those 2 days in the beginning of 2025, and then just a few weeks ago, the premiere of Fatal Fury, a fan film, was there. And it happened over in downtown Baltimore at a place I'd never been to. It's called the Parkway Theater, which is actually not far from the Charles Theater. And to my surprise, there was a few people from the cast that showed up. Shanita Parker was there, Emma Ryan was there, I was there, Tom Chrysosimo was there, which was, a great surprise. I was really taken back by that, but it was great to see him. And of course, Adam Vaughn was there. It was really cool. And we all had a great moment because we were all vibing together. It's been a while since we all saw each other. And it was really cool for the fact that, it was like we were picking it up where we last left off. And to attend this event and to finally see that project on the big screen, made me realize it was all worth it. Mind you, I think it was like about like a 10-minute like presentation, but it was really cool. It was really cool to see everybody shine. It was really cool to see everybody, do their thing with their fight choreography, and to see how much hard work that they put into it. It was fantastic and it was lovely. And I think that my castmates did an excellent job with portraying their roles, and to do what they did and to work on the choreography that they did. It's not easy. It's not a piece of cake. A lot of people think that, you just go in and you do this, and this, and you just punch, and kick. No, I mean, there's a lot more to it than just that. There's, careful planning, and making sure that, the timing of everything is working out. Making sure that, whoever it is that you're doing the fight scene with, that your partner is going to be safe. So you're going to make sure that, you hold back when you need to and go out in certain ways when you have to. It's got to be calculated, though. It's got to be, at the exact moment in time. And I'm just glad that everybody did their part, to see my castmates shine on the big screen. I'm not talking about me right now, but just to see my castmates shine, to see them have their opportunity and a moment in the sun for them was absolutely fantastic. And I could not have been more prouder of them at all. I truly believe that with the cast that was there for the filming in the beginning of this year, that was the unit. That was the people that were there. That was who was meant to be there, and it was incredible. And I tip my hat off to each and every one of my co-stars, my castmates, because they did their thing. And, I just wish, honestly, if I had one wish, I wish that all of my castmates could have made it. I mean, there's some things that, are beyond my control, and having people attend an event like this is one of them for sure. And I know that if they could have been there, they really would have. And I understand that. And I have to just say, hey, it is what it is. And if you can catch it, you can catch it. If you can't, you can't. But I hope that maybe one day, for us castmates, that we can actually have like a private showing, just all of us, and we can just watch it and we will have a good time with it. Fatal Fury, a fan film, definitely had a lot of, positive reviews with certain people, mainly because that film was the only one of its genre that did a lot of fight scenes, and a lot of people can see, how much, work was put into that, and how much, passion and how much determination that we had in order to make this very successful. But I think the reason why we were successful is that because, once again, we had the right unit. We had the right actors for the job, who came in with the attitude of they wanted to succeed and make it work. We had great leadership under Adam Vaughn, who literally was like the perfect football coach. You know what I mean? And the support of executive producer Matt Patty, who was there to give his love and support. And it's like individuals like those, you want to work with them and you want to surround yourself with that energy. And I think that people that do not have that energy, that have, the opposite, should really learn from individuals like them, because they will become better in their position when it comes to the filming industry, no doubt. I want to say, thank you to Adam Vaughn, who gave me this opportunity, and, for showing me the way and for being a really good leader. Matt Patty for, once again, his support. I truly appreciate that. And to all my castmates, Cameron, Zach Knox, Zach Malikoff, Trey and Shanita, Jimmy and Emma, Becky. Also, I want to thank John Lutz was there. I want to thank him. And I want to also thank Tom Crisosimo, because without these guys, giving, a lot of love and support not only to me, but to each other, could we have crossed the finish line? It probably would have been a lot harder, I can tell you that much, but I feel like with the team that we did, the team that we had and the stuff that we did together, the challenges, the trials, and just trying to get this thing done to make it a full-fledged short. I would say that the juice was worth the squeeze, 100%, no doubt. So now, the $1 million question is as follows: Where do we go from here? Where do I go from here? I can't speak for my castmates, so I really don't know what's going on, but whatever is in their future, I hope that they succeed 100%. They are hardworking individuals that deserve a lot of credit, a lot of accolade, and I'm proud of them, and I love them dearly. As far as myself, I definitely would love to go ahead and do more acting for sure. And I think that I really want to put myself out there as an actor to do more acting roles that are not martial arts based. I don't want to be known as a martial arts actor. I want to be known as an actor that knows martial arts. And if I need to do it, that I can do it within command. But first and foremost, I'm always going to be an actor. And I always want to do, great roles and do good things and have great opportunities. Because that's what I'm all about. That's my situation right there, is that I want to keep acting and do things and have fun and just, live in that moment and have a good time with it. That's all I want. And, if it leads me to another opportunity to do another short project with Charm City Flimmakers, I would love that. As long as Adam's on the team, I will work with him. I will work with him without question. I would definitely love to work with him. If he directs it, I definitely want to work with him, without question. But I'm just going to go ahead, at least for the rest of this year, take it all in, Now, I know a lot of people have their things like, acting in shorts, it's not really worth it. I tend to disagree on that. Because, with Fatal Fury, a fan film, it definitely showed, all the great positive results that we were looking for. And it showed the fact that we had a good time with it. And that we really cared about each other and that we loved one another. And... if there was a chance to act with that same cast again in a different project, better believe that I would definitely do it, for sure. That said, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break. When we come back, we are going to do the Q&A session, question and answer. You ask them questions and I will answer it. I'm excited. So let's take 5 and come back. Because the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is going to be great and red hot with the next one. All right? Stay tuned.
life, we all want to have great health and excellent physical fitness. However, it's never given, only earned. That said, if you want to go to a gym that will help you to get there, then look no further than Kicked Up Fitness at National Business Parkway in Annapolis Junction, Maryland. Their mission at Kicked Up is to provide the ultimate functioning training facility that focuses solely on your success, with a diverse team that's highly qualified and dedicated to taking your fitness goals to the next level. Kicked Up also offers a variety of group classes and personal training programs that provide something for everyone, regardless of your fitness level. They believe in working hard, achieving results, all while having fun. So come visit their facility in person, which is located at 114 National Business Parkway, Suite 100 in Annapolis Junction, Maryland, 20701. Now, if you see my friend Sean Queen, who's the owner of Kicked Up, tell him that Benny Chow of Miscalculated sent you, and he'll hook you up with a complimentary 7-day pass just to try it out. Need more info? Give him a call. 410-888-9066. Email them at kufitnessnbp@gmail.com or visit them at their website at www.kufitnessnbp.com. Kicked Up Fitness. Never given, only earned.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. I'm really feeling good. Just moments ago, before we actually started this segment, which we will get to in a moment, I have some surprising news and awesome news that in 2026, I have been offered to be a part of an acting cast of an upcoming movie that will be starting to film in the summertime. I don't know much about the project specifically, but I have it on good authority to say that, it is with somebody that I know in the filming industry, in the local film industry. And this person has a great reputation, an excellent reputation. I know him, and I know the team and the production company that he works for. And, I'm just really excited for, an opportunity of this magnitude. Now, I don't know anything more than just what I just told you. Obviously, if there's any more new information and specific information that I can actually, reveal, then I will be able to do so. But until then, it's just the fact that getting this news is incredible. It's wonderful, and it makes me feel pretty ecstatic about the whole situation. Like I have a good, happy attitude going into this segment, so I'm feeling really, really happy here. It's a great victory, and I'm truly blessed. And I just want to say thank you to that director, to his production team, and for this opportunity. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be wonderful. Again, more information will be out as soon as I know it, and as soon as I'm able to have the permission to reveal the situation. So it's all good. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do our segment, but before we do, our friendly reminder that the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is asking for help on a voluntary basis to anyone that would like to assist our podcast show by the ways of sponsorship and or financially donating to our podcast show to help make the quality of our podcast better. So all proceeds that we raise will go towards getting, more equipment and better equipment that we need for our podcast. such things specifically as like more microphones for in-studio guests, XLR cables for, you know, those said microphones, headphones for our in-studio guests, and even a MacBook Pro, which is the official computer of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. That computer alone is responsible for making high quality episodes that you listen to on a regular basis. And you know, it would be great if we can, you know, get that assistance. You know, whatever it is that you guys are willing to donate would be appreciative. It does help a lot, and it means a lot. And let me give you an example. I don't think this is going to happen, but you know, if somebody wants to go ahead and donate $5 million, which I don't think anybody would do, but you never know, we would definitely appreciate that for sure. We probably would make you an executive producer. Excuse me. And, you know, to even donating as little as $5, like every little bit helps, and we would appreciate your help. And you can make that donation by doing the following, you know, via PayPal or PayPal. Pen pal, not the pen pal that we wrote to all of our friends back in the day in the 80s. PayPal and Venmo, and you know, obviously you can go to paypal.com for it too. I don't think that Venmo has a website, but they are apps, and you can actually go ahead and find me on my tag name at Kim Hoang MD Actor. That's once again at KIMHOANG MDATCOR, or on the Cash App, and you can go and get me on my tag name, $ Kim Hoang MD Actor. Once again, that's $ KIMHOANG MDACTOR. Now that is being said, we have the greatest segment of them all, the Q&A segment, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. You ask those questions and we will answer it. Normally it is a thing where we answer 7 questions, but you know what? I'm feeling pretty generous. So we actually have 2 more bonus questions, making it a grand total of 9. I have the questions here. I don't know, you know, how fast we can do it, but I'm going to definitely do the best that I can and just make it happen. So here we go. Question number 1. Kim, how do you deal with actors on the set that you dislike? Lynn Marie from Portland, Maine. That's a good question. And Lynn Marie, my answer is the following. I have to basically understand that, you know, I have a job to do. You know, when I'm on the set, I'm basically there for the following. I'm there to act on a scene. You know, I'm a professional, and that's what I do. I don't have to give said actor or actress my time of day, because if I don't like them off the set, that's off the set. On the set, I have to deal with them. And I just have to remember, let's get focused. Let's, you know, stay on point, do the job, and then get out of Dodge. Have I acted with a lot of actors and actresses that I've disliked? Obviously, for sure. But, you know, I don't pay them any mind. You know, I just go in my element, do what I need to do, and that's it. I don't have to socialize with them, you know, during breaks, you know, when we're actually waiting to, you know, go into the next scene. I don't have to hang out with them and be buddy with them outside of the set. I just focus on myself and do what I need to do, you know, and that's it. Because at the end of the day, I'm helping a production company and a director make this film happen and make a reality. And I don't want to taint it by bringing unnecessary drama, you know. As they say, the drama's for your mama. Don't even worry about it. Just stay focused and do what you got to do. That's the bottom line. Question number 2. Kim, now that we're days removed from the Jake Paul versus Joshua Anthony fight, what did you think about the event and the results? Shane from Tucson, Arizona. Shane, I really thought that the event was pretty cool, and for that being also on Netflix, that's a great advantage because, you know, you don't have to buy it on pay-per-view. You just have to have a Netflix subscription in order to gain access to see the fight. That being said, what do I think about the results? I thought it was exactly what I thought it would be. That, you know, Joshua Anthony, being a professional boxer, still in his, like, you know, in his good, like, physical prime, being like 15 months, you know, away from the sport, still at a very good physical age and a good peak, went into that ring and would take care of business, and he did. My opinions on Jake Paul is that every time that he throws these events and so forth, I feel like he buys victories, and he fights people past their prime, people that are like super old, you know, or way older than him, and I feel like that's a slap in the face for the sport of boxing. That's a slap in the face in general. And, you know, Jake Paul got his ass handed to him, you know? I mean, all I have to say is, you know, Joshua Anthony hit him with the two-piece and a biscuit. And, you know, broke Jake Paul's jaw in the process and knocked him out for that KO. To me, I feel like that was the greatest thing. And it shows that, you know, you can't just be, you know, somebody of a online personality that runs your mouth and says that you want to go ahead and do boxing and win all these victories, you know, with money. You know, if you're going to do boxing, great. Do boxing, but do it the right way. You know, approach it the right way. Earn your successes the right way. You know, now these days, you know, if you just buy a victory over some people like Anderson, the Spider Silva, and Mike Tyson, I mean, you know, well, I don't know what more I can tell you. I mean, that's really dishonorable. And Joshua Anthony did it, and I seriously hope that, you know, if Jake Paul does this again, you know, he's going to think twice before running his mouth. That's it. Question number 3, Kim, you said podcasting is for everyone, but is there a fine print statement that you may not have mentioned? Claire from Des Moines, Iowa. Claire, I think I really have been transparent about the whole situation. I think that, you know, like I said, I do believe that podcasting is for everybody. No matter, you know, who you are, what you are, you know, what subject matter that you want to talk about majority-wise of your show, I think it is for everybody. The only thing that I probably didn't say, but it's also common sense, is that, you know, when you're doing a podcast, you really have to have a good personality, and you got to have that energy. You know what I mean? If you're just going to be like, you know, a stiff person and act very robotronic or something, or just being, you know, acting really dead, to me at that point, I feel like, okay, this is going to be very interesting, and I don't think that many people will tune in. But hey, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you know, you do whatever style in the end that you feel comfortable in doing, do it. You know, whether if you do it with that energy, if you do it with that personality, if you do it in a way that is just like, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do, man. And that's just me being 100. You know, I don't think that I don't think I really have to lie about it. Why would I? You know, that's transparency at its finest. Question number 4. Kim, are you a Marvel comic guy, or are you a DC comic guy? Reg from Charleston, South Carolina. Good question. I mean, I do like both. I really do, but I find myself to be more of a Marvel guy. I grew up back in the day of being a Marvel comic person because I liked the characters a little bit better. You know, like Spider-Man, Captain America. I loved the X-Men. I loved the Fantastic Four. You know what I mean? I loved X-Force. That was before the New Warriors. I loved all of that stuff, you know. Not to disrespect Superman, Batman, Robin, Nightwing, and the Green Lantern, and the Flash, and Wonder Woman, and all, but I felt like, to me, they weren't as iconic as those characters of Marvel. You know what I mean? But it's okay because, you know, everybody has their style and everybody loves, you know, Marvel, or everybody loves DC. So it doesn't matter. You know, it's, you know, whatever you like is whatever you like. I just think that for me personally, I love Marvel. I think that even the movies that come out based on the comic book of, you know, that Marvel character and so forth, I feel like that stuff's amazing, more so than DC. But then again, that's just an opinion, so I'm just going to, you know, leave it at that. So there we go. Question number 5. Kim, what do they mean when they say fall 9 times and get back up 10 times? Daisy from Boise, Idaho. Daisy, in my opinion, I feel like when you get back up 10 times, but you fall 9 times, it means that you're not giving up in what you want to do. With all the failed attempts of trying something, and then philosophically at that point, or metaphorically, you fall down. When you fall down, you fail, right? When you get back up, you're wanting to do it again. You want to fight. And you want to keep on fighting until whatever it is that you're trying to do is done with 100% succession. So that's what that means to me, is to get up and try again, never give up, because when you get back up more times than you fall down, you're that determined to succeed. And if you fall down more times than you get back up, that means you're willing to quit and that you're willing to give up. So you should never give up. Get back up more times than you fall. So that's what I think what it means to me, in my opinion. All right. Question number 6. Yeah, question number 6. Kim, do you believe in the use of beard shampoos and beard oil? Will from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Will, absolutely. You know, I'm a big fan. Like, I have a beard. I'm a big fan of those type of products because, you know, with the beard shampoo, it helps to, you know, clean your beard a little bit better and get rid of all the dirt and debris, and possible bacteria that might be trapped in your actual hair or the beard and around the follicles of it. And then just having, like, you know, beard oil is just to kind of, you know, help it have that healthy shine and sheen. You know, it's kind of like vitamins for that, you know, beard. And it also helps to make it smell good too, you know. So I am a big fan of it. I love it dearly. I don't know what products by name that I would say are the best, because I feel like they all do the same thing. But I will say this: buy the beard products of beard shampoo or, you know, beard oil, beard balm, or beard butter. Buy it over at Walmart, because they sell it for a better price, you know, a more affordable price. So, you know, if you have that time, do it, you know, make that happen. So there it is. All right. Last question before we go to the bonus round, which is question number 7. And that is, Kim, is there a specific sports bag that you like to store your Taekwondo stuff in? Nina from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Not really, Nina. Like, you know, I don't want it, you know, I don't need to have a specialized bag. All I know is for my demand, I would like to have something at least like a medium-sized sports duffel bag to maybe a large, but medium is good for me, so I can go ahead and store my taekwondo uniform, sparring equipment, and maybe a few other things that I might need for the class, you know. I've had sports bags from Nike, from Adidas, and even most recently Under Armour. And it basically does the basic function of what I need, which is to store my stuff and get it going. The only question is, again, you know, going back to the size, whether if you need a medium-sized bag or a large-sized bag. And that you really have to ask yourself that question. If you think that you're going to be bringing a lot more stuff, then I would say definitely get the large bag. It might be a little bit more expensive, but in the long run, it will probably be something that will help you out a lot better because you're bringing more stuff, and your bag, being a large bag, will have the space capacity to store all that stuff in without any hesitation. So there you go. So we're in the bonus round. And we're going to go into question number 8, which is, Kim, would you ever consider competing in another martial art tournament? Freddie from Spokane, Washington. That's a good question. And I think my answer would be this, Freddie, which is, you know, if I ever wanted to compete again, I'm pretty sure that it would probably happen. It wouldn't be a NASCAR tournament because I feel like NASCAR tournaments, you know, I've competed in a few, but I kind of felt like the more of the traditional martial art tournaments are more my speed. But it really would have to depend on the situation. You know, it would depend on, you know, what tournament it is. And it would have to depend on, you know, if there is a high genuine interest of a lot of other people wanting to compete in that, you know, tournament event itself. There used to be a lot of great traditional tournaments of martial art tournaments in the Atlantic region that was pretty much like, you know, it was kind of like, you know, if you heard about the name of that tournament, everybody wanted to be there for sure. And I feel like in that sense, it's a little lost because, you know, the glory days are gone, you know, so, but I just really have to consider it and see, you know, where I would go. So, I mean, that's it. All right. Finally, the last question, and we are out of here. Question number 9. And this one, wow, it's a good question. Kim, if you were financially wealthy, what would be your plans? Juliet from Little Rock, Arkansas. Eliminate my debt by all means. You know, whatever debt that I had, I would pay that off immediately. I would actually get a brand new vehicle, probably a Chevy Equinox, because I do like, you know, SUVs, and the Chevy Equinox is really good when it comes to, like, you know, miles per gallon, having a heavy load and doing it all of it while being a 4-cylinder. I would probably move away to my own private house, and I mean like a real sizable house, not like the house that I'm living in now. It would be slightly bigger, you know, and I would definitely like to have things like a real nice kitchen, you know, with probably like a gas stove on there, and I would probably like to have like an external building where I can make like my own private, you know, dojang that I train in. That would also facilitate doing like stunts and so forth for stunt training and etc. etc. I also like the idea of also having like my own podcast studio, you know, that I would probably build somewhere within the house, you know, and I think it would be great. I would also take my money and invest it in a lot of sure things, like Microsoft and Apple. Maybe I might, invest it in Disney and stuff like that, because those companies are sure winners in my opinion. And when you invest in them, I feel like your stock points are going to go way up. So that would be good, because then if I invested in that, it would be incredible. And then the rest, in savings and, checking account and in a CD account, IRA Roth. So I would probably be living in interest. And then whatever I wanted to do afterwards, like if I wanted to do some traveling, if I wanted to do this, if I wanted to do that, then I would have the financial means to do so. Last time I checked it, the annuity value for the Powerball Lotto was like at 1.5 billion. I don't know if anybody has won it yet, but if I won that much, that would be 1.5 billion reasons why you wouldn't see me around as much, because I would be too busy living and traveling and doing what I need to do and living the dream. And that's it. That would be all. And that said, that is all. We've answered every question. This is good. I'm feeling really happy here. It was a great episode. It was a great episode. I really feel happy that I did this, and I feel very good knowing that my creativity is phenomenal. That we're using it the right way, and it's showing. It really is. So let's go ahead and end this. Obviously, you can find me online. On Facebook, you can find me under the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. You can follow it and like it. We really would appreciate it. I'm also on social media. I am on Instagram and on Twitter, now known as X. You can please follow me at my tag name, TKHPC Experience, all in one word, lowercase letters. That's once again at TKHPC Experience, all in one word, lowercase letters. Follow me and I'll follow you back. We are on a lot of podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. We are also on Audible and on iHeartRadio. Now, do me a favor. Number one, please like, follow, and subscribe to my podcast on all of those podcasting platforms. Number two, if you have Spotify, please give me a 5-star ranking. If you have Apple Podcasts, please give me a 5-star ranking and a positive written review, because the more times that we get that, then, our podcast will be thrown out to the front of the lines. People will notice it, and somebody might be like, hey, it's the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. We should probably follow and subscribe to it, because our friend Danielle said that this was the one to follow and to listen and to do all of that, and I would say yes. Please share this podcast on all of your social media pages, whether if it's the Facebook or the Twitter, now known as X, or the Instagrams, or even the Snapchats, or other types of platforms in the social media. Even now these days, people are sharing it on their TikToks. I think that would be really cool if people could do that, and just share it with people that in person. Friends, family members, work colleagues. Because the more times that you share it, you bring out the brand awareness. People are understanding, oh man, you're telling me this in person. That's the brand awareness that's working, because sharing is caring. Last but not least, if you want to be a special guest on my show, if you want to be like a special guest host, any constructive criticism, or even if you want to send a question on our Q&A forum, please do so and email me at the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, put it in the subject box, and then on the body of the email, write out whatever you need to write out, and then just go ahead and send it out. I'll probably be able to see it and get back with you within a day or two, because I do like that proper correspondence. And last but not least, guys, please be safe out there. Life's too short to do things that are unsafe or things that are ill-advisable, which may possibly cause you to be 6 feet under. And we don't want that to happen to you. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be happy. We know for a fact that you deserve all the happiness in the world, and we want you to succeed. Anybody else that tells you otherwise, that you're not worth it, there's 5 fingers in one hand. Use the longest finger and just put it right in their faces and say, you know what, I ain't got time for your negativity. I got time for positivity, time for creativity, time for being positive, because the world's already negative enough as it is, hurting a lot of people, causing them a lot of heartache and real bad feelings when it comes to their personal mental health status. Let's start loving one another rather than hating one another. And that's all I got to say about that. That being said, thank you guys for joining with me on this great episode and just, hanging out and having a good time. I had a blast, and as always, it is great to be here, even though it's on an undisclosed location, but just sharing my time with you and showing you what I can do and be very happy about it and be very passionate about it. It just goes to show you that, if you really want it bad, if you really want it bad enough in life, if you really want to work for it, you're going to do it the right way, and your dreams will come true, So, that being said, for the one time here on a private location, it's your boy Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation, the host with the most, the man with the plan, the guy that has the power that can bring it within an hour, and the dude with the right attitude saying thank you, I love you, we appreciate you, and we will do it again, no doubt. All right, y'all take care, be easy, most importantly, be safe. All right, guys, I'm out here. Peace.